On April 22, 2025, the tranquil hills of Baisaran near Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir were shattered by a brutal and calculated act of terror. 26 civilians, most of them tourists, including women and children, were gunned down in cold blood by terrorists who reportedly identified victims by their religion before executing them. The attack shocked the nation and the international community, reminding the world of the horrifying capabilities of terror networks operating with impunity in the region. Responsibility for the carnage was swiftly claimed by the Resistance Front, or TRF, a shadowy group widely known as a front for the Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba. This wasn't an isolated incident, but a deliberate assault meant to destabilize the region, derail the tourism economy of Jammu and Kashmir, and fan the flames of communal division. Just over 2 weeks later, on May 7th, the Indian government launched a decisive countermeasure, Operation Sindoor. This surgical offensive targeted 9 terror infrastructure sites across Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. These sites, according to Indian intelligence, were used for training, funding, and launching cross-border attacks. The operation was India's most extensive cross-border military response since Balakot in 2019. Pakistani forces retaliated with shelling of civilian areas in Jammu and Kashmir, but the violence de-escalated by May 10th after a diplomatic understanding was reached. India, however, had made its message loud and clear that terrorism will be met with firm and calculated resolve. India continues to raise the issue of cross-border terrorism on the international stage. At the recent Shanghai Cooperation Organisation (SCO) Council of Foreign Ministers meeting held in China, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar directly addressed the Pahalgam tragedy in his speech. Speaking in the presence of senior diplomats from SCO member states, including Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq, Jaishankar said that the attack was not just an assault on innocent lives, but an attempt to undermine Kashmir's economic revival and sow religious discord. He reminded the gathering that terrorism, extremism, and separatism were the very evils the SCO was created to combat. Yet he discussed there were growing hesitations and divisions when it came to confronting these threats head-on. Jaishankar underscored that the perpetrators, sponsors, financiers, and organizers of the Pahalgam massacre must be brought to justice and called for an uncompromising global stance against terror. While there was no joint declaration issued at the end of SCO foreign ministers' meet, reportedly due to internal disagreements over how terrorism should be referenced, Jaishankar's words resonated beyond the room. His appeal followed the failure of the SCO defense ministers' meeting last month to issue a joint statement, again due to the same divisions. Yet India pressed on, determined not to let the issue of terrorism be watered down by diplomatic doublespeak.
We are responding to a particularly barbaric terrorist attack on 22nd April in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. This attack compelled us to respond on 7th May by striking at cross-border terrorist infrastructure. Our response was targeted and measured. It is not our intention to escalate the situation. However, if there are military attacks on us, there should be no doubt that it will be met with a very, very firm response.
Interestingly, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq avoided mentioning terrorism altogether in his speech at the SCO. Instead, he accused India of engaging in strategic recklessness and rhetorical belligerence, claiming Pakistan had shown restraint despite rising tensions. He also reiterated Pakistan's position on Kashmir, calling for the implementation of United Nations resolutions, a point that was largely ignored by other members. Meanwhile, India's efforts received a powerful endorsement from across the globe. In Washington, D.C., the U.S. State Department announced that the Resistance Front had been designated as a foreign terrorist organization, FTO, and a specially designated global terrorist, SDGT. The decision was hailed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who described TRF as a direct proxy of Lashkar-e-Taiba and said that the designation reflected the United States' commitment to holding terrorists accountable. He specifically referenced the Pahalgam attack, calling it the deadliest assault on civilians in India since the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. The announcement marked a major milestone in India-US counter-terrorism cooperation. Reacting to the news, Minister Jaishankar posted on X, calling it a strong affirmation of India-US counter-terrorism cooperation. He thanked the US government for acknowledging the seriousness of the April 22nd attack and reaffirmed India's zero-tolerance policy towards terrorism. The Indian embassy in Washington echoed this sentiment, stating that the designation was another demonstration of strong India-US cooperation in countering terrorism. Beyond the immediate tragedy and diplomatic response, the Pahalgam attack has reignited debates about the future of regional cooperation in South Asia. During his remarks at the SCO meeting, Jaishankar criticized Pakistan for blocking transit routes for India-Afghanistan trade and called for greater regional connectivity. He pushed for faster adoption of the International North-South Transport Corridor, which connects India to Central Asia and Europe through Iran, arguing that without secure and reliable transit, talk of economic cooperation remains hollow. He also addressed the issue of Afghanistan, an SCO observer state that has not been invited to the meetings since the Taliban's takeover in 2021. Jaishankar emphasized that India's concerns for the Afghan people remain consistent and urged SCO members to enhance development assistance for long-term stability. In what was seen as a cautious diplomatic move, Jaishankar met with both Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, building on discussions held earlier this month at the BRICS summit in Brazil. The Indian minister also called on Chinese President Xi Jinping and Vice President Han Cheng, describing their talks as focused on the continued normalization of India-China relations, still strained after the Galwan clashes of 2020.
We have made good progress in the past 9 months for the normalization of our bilateral relations. It is the result of the resolution of friction along the border and our ability to maintain peace and tranquility there. This is the fundamental basis of our mutual strategic trust and for smooth development of bilateral relations. It is now incumbent on us to address other aspects related to the border, including de-escalation.
The question now hangs in the air is this: will the world listen and act? Rakani Sudhir Chaurya's report for DD India.